Alright, first off, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rakakwadash. Love honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Shalom to the brothers in highways and byways pushing this word in all sincerity and truth. The sisters, the believers, the helps, the hopeful elect. Shalom. This is the brother Iram from a Jamaica camp. Come with another quick lesson. And the inspiration of this lesson came from the movie, the Ten Commandments. You know that movie that is used to illustrate, what the Israelites did. Pretty much illustrating various aspects of the book of Exodus. Now, as to its full accuracy, Esau, there's gonna be a few bones and a few things that he throws in there, but there's a lot that you can actually learn from it historically, meaning like with some of the props that were used, with the way how the Egyptians used to build certain things, the manual labor, the hierarchical, the hierarchy, the structure of the society, slaves, masters, all those things. And one of the key things that I noticed was how rich or how comfortable, Moses would have actually been. And, this precept actually came to mind. All right, being the son of Pharaoh's daughter, you're pretty much, in the great house, there's nothing that is not close unto you. Anything that you need, you can just command it, and it's at your feet, because guess what? You're in that great house. So, in this society, there are a lot of things that we may see. We being under the curses, we being in manifold temptations and discomfort, that at times, you may want a house, you may want a car, you may want money, you may want, or have desires for particular things. And, even to a certain extent, some brothers are blessed more than others. You may already have particular things, but the same mindset that Moses had towards ancient Egypt, it's the same thing that we should have now. That is why this truth should be our main priority. The kingdom of heaven should be our main priority, which includes fulfilling our duties within this ministry, feeding the flock, edifying the flock, through preaching, as well as enduring our daily misfortunes, and through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, making that spiritual sacrifice. Peradventure we of the hopeful elect are delivered. All right, so I'm just gonna get into the scriptures real quickly, and hopefully it's edifying. This is Hebrews 11 verse 24. It says, by faith Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. All right, and we're just gonna go precept upon precept, line by line. It says that he refused. So let's check on this word. Refused, right? To deny someone, to deny oneself, disregard his own interest, or to prove false to himself, to act entirely unlike himself. So pretty much, he did not accept it, not to accept, to reject, to refuse something offered, right? So he rejected that status, he rejected that title, right? And I'm going to look on the word Pharaoh right here. So as it says, son of Pharaoh's daughter, right? It says Pharaoh. Going down here, it says a common title of the native kings of Egypt. But then when you go to the root, it gives this word, this Hebrew word, Parayaha, which is Pharaoh, and the title actually means great house, right? So he didn't want to be of that great house. Now going down here, it says title to Egyptian kings of royal court, All right. So being within the royal court and being the son of Pharaoh's daughter, there's access to comfort, pleasures, abundance of things, you know. So he refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. But let's see what so he rejected that. Let's see what he chose instead. Right? Choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of the Most High than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. All right, so let's look on the word choosing. Right, so to take for oneself, to prefer. Right, and I'll use that one. Right, to prefer or to take for oneself. Right, choosing to affliction. Right, so this is the word affliction. It says to treat ill with another, to be ill treated with company, in company with, share persecutions, or come into a fellowship of ills. So he chose sufferings for instead of pleasures, instead of comforts, instead of titles, right? To maltreat in company. When I jump down here, and it says right here, it gives the same definition that was read above, but down here it says Hebrews 11:25, not found elsewhere. So this word, this Greek word that has been used to communicate communicate the affliction that he chose, was to actually, he chose to suffer with the Israelites. He chose to give up that title of being the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose ill will and sufferings rather than pleasures. And it's going to explain why. Right? It says choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy pleasures of sin for a season, because there was a lot of idolatry. There's a lot of if you research a lot of these Egyptian customs, that the Lord would have actually jacked him up, in the event that he had partaken, or partook in any of those pleasures, as it says, pleasures of sin. So it's completely off, witchcraft, among many other things. Just look up the customs and the ways of ancient Egypt, and you'll get a clearer picture. Right? So this is the word pleasure, and when you jump to the second definition, A says to have, own, possess external things such as pertain to property or riches or furniture or utensils or goods or food, etc. All right. So you could have actually, had these pleasures of sin for a season, temporarily. So I'll read verse 25 again. It says, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. Esteeming, and that word esteem means to consider, right? So esteeming the reproach of the Messiah greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. So he knew that being suffering with the people of God, coming back to being a part of the fold of Israel and suffering would yield a much greater reward than actually enjoying the pleasures of the temporary pleasures of Egypt. And that is something that we definitely need to keep in mind. Speaking to myself first and foremost, we definitely need to keep this in mind and keep our eyes on the true reward, which is the reward of the kingdom of heaven, the reward of eternal life. Right? So let's look on this right here. It says esteeming, which means to consider, right? Esteeming, so the reproach of the Messiah. Look up the word reproach. It says as such as the Messiah suffered for the cause of the Most High. So he rather to suffer for the cause of the Most High from his enemies, which were what? The Egyptians at the time. But not only that, we hear, anyone that's not, with the program or tending to the will and the spirit and the ministry and the sacrifice, of the edifying, of the flock, or pretty much anyone that's not pushing the agenda of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, living it in all sincerity and truth, they would be considered enemies of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. All right. And as we know, when in dire times, everything is quote unquote okay for now. But as we see that the time is turning and things are getting tighter and tighter, it says that a friend cannot be known in prosperity. So a lot of people that we're currently cool with, the time to come is going to actually, reveal our hearts towards Yahweh Shem Yahshai, as well as their hearts towards us. So, ultimately the real test is yet to come. So, not only are the heathen, but, the unbelievers of our people, they are also the enemies. And we're going to suffer, we're going to suffer. The hopeful elect, or the elect are going to suffer. All right. So, that's the word reproach. So, esteeming the reproach of the Messiah, it says greater riches. So, let's go on the word riches. Riches, wealth, abundance of external possessions, fullness, abundance, right? A good, i.e., that with which one is enriched. All right, so nothing there. Let me just read this back for context. Salakia. Right, esteeming the reproach of the Messiah greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, right? So it says the treasures in Egypt. So let's look on the word treasures, right? It says the place in which good and precious things are collected and laid up, caskets, coffers, or other receptacles in which valuables are kept, treasury, storehouse, repository, magazines, things laid up in a treasury, collected treasures. So all the good and precious things and the valuable things in Egypt, they were nothing, because it says he had a respect for for the recompense of the reward. The word respect says to turn eyes away from other things and fix them on someone thing, right? To look with steadfastness, mental gaze. So his mental gaze was towards the promise, and that is what our mental gaze should be should be towards. Our mental gaze should be towards salvation, towards the kingdom of heaven, and up and walking this straight path, and aiming for the prize, right? So he said that he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. So he had a mental, he was looking, to look with steadfast mental gaze. So his mind was constantly on that recompense that we that suffering for Yahweh Shem Yahshai comes with, right? It says unto the recompense of the reward. It says payment of wages due recompense. All right, and if you go down here, it says it gives an example of punishment, but pretty much we know that for we wouldn't be punished, but we would be rewarded with with the glory, with the ultimate glory, all the promises of our salvation, us, all the blessings being poured upon us, all the promises, the scriptures, and the prophecies state that eyes have not seen nor ears have heard, that which the Lord have prepared for them that wait on him. All right. So, that's the same mindset that we need to pray to Yahweh Shem Yahshai for. All right. Now, I'm going to read verse 22. It says, by faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king. And here's the thing, once we start to pull away from the society, we have, people that we know are going to come down on us, and we have the governments that's going to come on us, as well as, Esau, Edom will be coming down on us as well. All right. For he endured as seeing him who is invisible. And as it says that he forsook Egypt, and feared not the wrath of the king. We pray to Yahweh Hashem Yahshua to build our spirits up, so at our hour of temptation, our season of temptation, we will be given the spirit of endurance to overcome things. Yeah, so okay, yeah, I was saying that to overcome the things which are to come to pass. And another key thing here is it says by faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible. And when look on the word forsook or forsook, it says right here to leave behind, to depart from, leave. C says forsake, leave to one's self, a person or a thing by ceasing to care for it, to abandon, leave in the lurch, right? To abandon, to forsaken, right? To cause, to be left over, to reserve, to leave remaining. E says like or leave behind. It is use of one who, on being called away, cannot take another with him. So we cannot be of this world and be of the Most High at the same time. We have to leave one behind, right? It says especially of the dying to leave behind. And F, I think, is a very, very good one. It says, like our leave alone, disregard. And the example that's given is of those who sail past a place without stopping. So, we have no dwelling place here, we arise and depart, for this is not our rest, So that was pretty much, it just saying that, this is the mindset that we need to, keep, pray the Lord to keep, our mental gaze on the kingdom, pray for the spirit of endurance, praying for salvation. Hope this was edifying. Want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Shem Shai Bashem Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Shalom to the brothers in highways and byways pushing this word in all sincerity and truth. The sisters, the believers, the helps, the hopeful elect. Shalom.